Good afternoon, traders. Welcome to my daily webinar. This one will be on YouTube out as the weekly outlook. I want to start with CAD because I posted a video in CAD showing a 400 pips move coming. I'm going to explain it to get there very quick. For those of you who haven't seen the videos, please go watch it. We're looking for this up move that should go to at least about a 270. The details is in that video, so please watch it. It's not a buy as yet. Right, the buy setup is not there because there's still a chance of this one coming back to this level before it goes. If you look at the previous down move, right, the previous down move, and this one, we actually had a big flat in here, then it dropped to the low, then it went up. If you look at this one, there was a steep series of pullback before it went to the low. So there's still a chance that this becomes a flat, it comes down to the low, and then start that up move, right? So we'll try to get a buy from here, or we'll try to get a buy from the breakout. Let's assume for a second that, well, this is not a flat and this one is going to go out of the structure. Out of here, if we get any flag, we'll start buying. The move is a big move, so you don't have to really worry about where you get in. It's about how much you can get out of it. There will be many trades going up, so please follow them. And if you actually like this, share it, because I'll be putting on more of these videos where there is a setup for a long term, not a short term setup, a long term setup, but we will have a lot of short term trades in them going. So let's start. Dollar index. Dollar index, we're literally, by the way, I hope you're not watching my video for the first time, because if you are, my name is Anil Mangal. You can find it on YouTube. And, basically, if you like my videos, if you like the style we use, it's called wave analysis. Please share it. So let's go. We're in dollar index. Dollar index is still in the consolidation, as you can literally see. We're still pretty much going sideways here. And we broke out of this running flat, 1, 2, 3 running flat. We actually tagged the low, but we haven't really going anywhere. We're still kind of going sideways. So last week we were looking for a possible sell. We sold the top of this, and then we were looking for this to drop more. It didn't. It actually went up, which means that the sell setup was not there. We are not in the trade. No need to worry. Can it actually go make a new high? Yep, that is still possible. You can look at this as a correction, and this go make a new high. So if we actually get a flag here this week, we could buy to break this top. But once you break that top, you'd have to get out of the trade, because the possibility is it's going to come back down. Any one of these corrections that go up could come back down. So can it actually go break this top? It's possible, but if you break that top, you still will be in a correction. So let me just clear this again. If you buy this and it goes there, you better get out of the trade, because they can pull back and do this. These are not trading moments so often. You wouldn't get very good trades in them. You might get a few short-term trades like this, but any sell setup that you get, you should take, because one of these are going to drop really fast. Depending on how high we go into this move, we'll decide whether this is a correction for upside or whether this is literally going to go deeper. That's all. That's all that the depth of the pullback tell you, the depth of the correction. So right now we're going sideways. Maybe we'll get a buy setup. We don't know that yet. By Monday, we'll know. By Monday afternoon, maybe. Silver actually going down. We made one attempt at the sell. It didn't go. We closed it. Take this out. It's still going up in a sideways move. We broke the top there. So silver, you can look at it two ways now. Right? There were small buys in here also. We were buying this early one because we thought that was a running flat. But if that was a running flat, this should have gone like this. So that is why we were buying the first two buys here, because we thought we were going to take off. That didn't take off. You can go back and look at last week's webinar for those trades. Now, when it comes to the top, you don't really buy. There was a buy setup here, close to break even. There's another buy setup forming again here. And you can take the chance at that buy if it breaks out, but it's not going to go anywhere, because you can clearly see now that this, even if this goes up, that's all you get. But if it starts to fall, there's a good trade. Either this is still the running flat and we're going to break through this and go lower, possibly retest the low, which is retesting this low here, the bigger low. If that is the running flat, we can retest the low. Or we're going to keep climbing like this slowly until we break this top. All right, once that top is broken, you're in a big sideways move. This entire thing is a big sideways move. There is a good chance we will come back to the low. I don't see this as the start of the upside in the daily, right? The start of the upside doesn't really look like this. We were expecting an up move, but it's really slow. So what I think is going to happen, even if we break this top, even if you climb slowly to break that top, the chances are when we break this top, we're going to come back, retest the low. So go back on the 1 hour. There's a short-term buy setup. If you can trade those short-term trades, you can take the buy. If not, wait for the sell setup. They're into sell setup, and that is it. Gold drop. Actually, this was a trade also. We were selling this, tag, go back, come back, close the trade. Didn't go anywhere. It didn't get to where we wanted, and it didn't go anywhere. It's still consolidating. So if it consolidates in this range, because it came so high, if it consolidates in that range, you can look for one more up. So why we're starting to look for the sell, remember when gold is at the bottom here, we said we wanted to go and break this stop, which we did. Last week, I think we had made the sharp move when we were looking for a sell setup here. If this had broken, we would be in the sell. Well, it actually didn't break, it went up. I didn't take the sell, and I don't think we should take that sell. There's a very high risk in taking sells like that. But let's say you got in, there was another buy setup here in the 1 hour. I think the 1 hour had another buy setup somewhere along this line here, which was a trade you can take. Pretty dangerous. And there is a buy setup on this one here, if you take that. This one you will close already. If you take the trade, you should close. You shouldn't keep that trade over the weekend. Now, there's a good chance we get a bigger consolidation here and one more up. If we break this top, let me go back to the 4 hours. And if you break that top, all you're doing is creating a running flat, right? So if we break this top here, coming down back would be a running flat, and it will come back down because we still have this move up and we have this move down. All of this is a bigger correction. So when it was at the bottom here and we were saying, well, this is going to go back to retest the top, there were doubts as to whether that would happen, right? It did break the top. So all the way to the top here were trades to the upside. But once the top was broken, that's when we start looking for sell setups. So any sell setup we get at the top here, I would take. Any buy setup, you'll have to be very careful. There is a chance that this would go break that top because you're consolidating here. But you would have to be very careful with this trade because there's no telling how high it can go. Once you break the top, it could go higher. Once you break the top, it would fall. But any sell setup at the top there would be really good because you're in a sideways move and you're at the top of a sideways move. Every time you get to the top of a sideways move, and this is not ending the structure, neither this is going to give you a continuation to the upside. It means you're looking for a trade to the bottom here, right? This comes here, come back here, go back there, and then drop. So basically, you're looking for a big, long, drawn-out sideways structure that's going to... We're at the top. Look for sell setups. This is one we're looking for sell setups too. We actually took trades here. This one was a break-even, and it actually tagged the top. So right now, we were looking for this one. This didn't go, so none of the gold trades for the sell went. It's going sideways. I still think we'll probably get this sharp move down here. We'll make a running flat and probably one more up. So gold might give you one more up if it's not an Aussie move. One more up in this trade. Let it come down here first. Go back up, give you one, and then we look for the sell. The bigger structure is this sell. I remember when it was bottom here, we said we expected to go break the top. This was a nice trade. Those are the trades you're looking for, the one that will give you the very huge spike, not within this little piece that is not going anywhere. So right now, short term, there's a trade to the downside, long-term, short-term, another trade up, but then there's a long-term trade down here because you're here. You're in this structure and you're at the top of it. So if you look at this again, what you're looking at is an impulse and you're in the correction, right? This is the big move to the downside, and this is the correction of that big move. You're making a new high. Every time you make a new high, you would go down back. Either come back to this level and go up again, come back to this level, go back again, come back to this level, go up again, or you're totally going to drop. Well, every time you were at the top there and you get a sell setup, you should take it. Because if that is the one that is going to drop, you'll miss it. Now we don't have a sell setup. We have a consolidation. So the good chance is this is going to come back to the low here, go back up, probably finish a running flat, go back up and then drop. So you might get a short-term sell or a short-term buy. That might be all we get for this week. We'll keep an eye on it. But the big picture, the downside on this one, don't lose vision of it. At the end of this week, maybe you get the trade, maybe next week. But once you get that trade, that is the trade that will build your account because those are the trades that move fast. Euro, still in consolidation, right? So we made a new high. We came down. We're correcting into this. And you can see that the correction is getting bigger here, literally. Went up, it dropped, it made another flat here, it dropped. We're probably going to go back up there. I don't think this is all the correction. We'll probably come back down and then go back up. So we'll be making a big flat here, after which you should get one more move down before you go. So even if in the bigger picture, this is going to go up more. If we think this is going up more in the bigger picture, we still are making a flat in this range. And that means consolidation up, consolidation down, consolidation more up, maybe even more of this consolidation. Come back here and then go. So we'll be stuck here probably for the entire week. I don't see it taking off from here, or I don't see it dropping from there. What I see is a long, drawn-out consolidation. Not like this, of course, hopefully not like that, but a consolidation. After which there will be an impulse to the upside. We can trade within this consolidation range because I think it's about over 100 pips. Yeah, the range alone is 213 pips, which means you can trade in that range. You can look for buy and sell setups. At the moment, the closest thing you're going to get is a buy because you don't want to sell into this going down. There was a sell here on Friday. My traders, some of them might have taken it, but you'll get a few pips out of it and that's it. So you let this finish, you let it go back up, come back down, and then look for that buy. Look for the sell again, and then look for the buy. Hopefully this week, all of that happens. Pong? Yep, still in the sideways move, right? So you can see we actually took this out because that was for the news event. The news event didn't move it. So we didn't, the trade for that off the news event would be inside here. Right, on the news event will be there, in of the news event is here. The news didn't move it, it actually moved afterwards. So you wanted to just break this top, which is 1, 2, 3. Break the top, come back down. Either come back and retest this low or come back into this level and go back up, right? We're in a sideways move, we made a flat, we made an impulse. So you can look at this as a complete pattern, right? This whole piece here as a complete correction. It could still stay here and go up again, but if it stays here for the week, you can look for a buy setup. If it's coming down, it's going to retest this low, which means you should look for a sell setup in here and then the upside again, because you still have a sharp move here. So I think this week we should start looking for sell setups in this range. Any sell setup you get would be a good one. Some of my traders took an early one in the 15, but that's closed already. The early one in the 15 was this one here, that flag. But you closed that already. There's another flag forming here. This is more of a 1 hour flag. You can see that. Probably stay here and then drop. So there's a sell setup you're looking for in the 1 hour. Aussie. Same here. We're looking for a sell setup. We wanted it to break this top. That wasn't the buy. That is breaking this top off of this one here. There is a chance it will go back up because if you look at the pattern, you need 1, 2, 3. That is why you want to break that top. Because you have this sharp move here and you get a sharp move there. There's a chance you go back, retest this top, and then come down. So we'll be looking at 1, 2, 3, and then upside. Go back in the 4 hour. This was an up move. And if and when we break this top here, when we break that top, we'll consider whether this here was a running flat for downside or whether it was a running flat for upside. So it could be both. It could be they break the top and they go back, retest the low, or they actually break the top and take off. For us, you're looking for a buy trade. So there is a buy setup here. You can go, if you get a flag, if we get a flag here for a buy, we'll go with it. If it's consolidate more here, you can probably sell it. It means we will not break the top, we'll come back and tag the low. So either is possible. This could be corrective, this could be a slow impulse going up to break that top. I would like the buy setup more because if we break out of this, the potential for the upside is big. Remember, we're in a daily correction on the Aussie. I hope you guys remember that. New Zealand. Sideways, same thing, didn't break the top. Once it breaks the top, start looking for sell setups. CAD. CAD would likely drop. I hope it does drop back to this level and then we look for the buy. This is the most classical pattern you have of all of them. An impulse up, a correction, and another impulse up. So the only question is whether we're going to tag this low or not, whether we're going to break that low before we go. If it drops, you might not get the sell, but you can get the buy. If it breaks the top, you want a flag above here before you buy. If it breaks the top or if it drops, I will try to repost the shorter video with the sell setup or the buy setup. Well, the buy setups are actually. Yeah, sideways, but upside. This one is consolidating. There's a good chance you might break up, make one more, probably come here, maybe go break the top. So if this is all a consolidation, we'll retest the top. If not, they'll come to about this level, make a flat here, and then drop. So we're looking for the buy. The buy would be from a lower point, absolutely not from there. Let it consolidate downwards. It's not a sell you should take. Well, at least not as yet. It's not a sell you should take as yet. If it proves a flat, then we sell. That means if this actually comes down to the low here, go back up, then we look for a sell setup in this. If it goes from here, it's a buy. So Monday morning, we're opening with a buy entry. By afternoon, we can close the buy entry and be looking for a sell setup. I hope that makes sense, right? Because what you're looking at is what this pattern in here will do. Is it going to come and retest this low, or is it going to continue to go up and break this top? And if you remember in the daily, go back and watch the webinars that I did, I don't know, around this time here, or around this time here. That'll be somewhere in February 21. We forecast that this is going to come and break this top. When it was here, I said it is going to go from here and break that top. It's about to do that. Once you break that top, you're actually looking for a down move. This is the bigger forecast we have. It's a long-term forecast. See, we've already forecast this move going to break this top, coming down back here and then going back up. The point to where it's going is irrelevant. We're using a different logic for that. It's irrelevant. It doesn't have to go to those points. Those points are points we're looking for, right? That's not exactly a point we're going to turn from, but the pattern itself should behave like that. Now, this is the simplest pattern you can forecast. There is a possibility it can get more complex than that, but unless it starts getting more complex, you can't make the forecast for complexity. It means you're just imagining things. When it starts to get complex, then you said, okay, from a simple pattern, we're now changing the complex pattern because we can see that it's changing. So what would the next complex pattern look like? Right? What would the next pattern that it's making look like? We're determining what pattern is going to be formed depending on what we have. That's all. That's the difference between the way that I looked at wave analysis that I created, which is different from the way Elliott Wave looked at wave analysis, or the way that anybody else looked at wave analysis. So I'm looking at it from the point of view that there's a pattern creating. Give me all the pieces and I will try to forecast the next piece of that pattern, or the impulse out of the pattern, or wherever it's forming. So that's my thing, is to identify the pattern as best as I can and show you where the next piece is going to go. We don't determine what it's going to be. The Elliott Wave is very predetermined that it has to have it has to have three impulses in every wave, which is not true. It doesn't happen. I can prove that. And then, the correction has to be an ABC, and then it's going to go up, or it's going to be a triple tree or a triple double tree. So those patterns are not exactly the way it forms. Sometimes it's much, much more complex than that. I've seen patterns that took 3 years, 4 years. And sometimes it's a simple 1, 2, 3. That's it. Sometimes it's a long, drawn out running flat where you don't get it to be in the same area, but the flat completes at a much higher space than that. And we have identified those long, drawn out running flats. So our job as wave analysis traders to identify what pattern this is likely going to happen, what pattern is likely going to be formed here, based on what you have. That's all. You're not trying to predict what the market is going to do, trying to forecast what the market could do based on what you have. And that's a huge difference. You'll never see me draw, well, it's going to make ABC here and then go up. I don't know that. I'm saying there's a likelihood that based on what we have, there's a next move up, a next move down, and then go. If that changes, okay, well, it's not doing the way we expect. This is what you have now. And if it's doing this, then this is the next possible pattern we know that it could create. And that's it. It's that simple. And when you do it that way, you stay on the safer side of trade. Sometimes it doesn't go the way you forecast it to go because you're making forecasts. And then you said, okay, great. I'm not in that trade. A good example, like I show you in the gold, right? It didn't go the way we forecasted to go, but that's okay. I was not in the trade, so I don't care. When we forecast the up move from here, you probably thought it wouldn't happen, but it happened. It didn't happen how we wanted it to go. We wanted it to do this. It went with a big correction. That changes the view on the pattern. When we look back at the pattern, we said, okay, this could be a much more complex pattern, but it's still going to, when you make this flat, it is still going to go break that top. Now, when it breaks the top, we're starting to look for the reversal. It doesn't happen as yet. The first reversal didn't happen. The first one was a perfect setup for a reversal, which is a very sharp impulse, and they were consolidating at a low here. Like I said, if their consolidation remains here, we sell. Consolidation breaks above that level, above the 50%, you be careful of any sell, right? Would I take a buy here? Absolutely not. If I get the same pattern tomorrow and there's a buy set up here, I would not take it. It's simple. It's a low probability trade. It's not going to happen. It's that there's no risk to reward in that trade. You have to put an entry here with a stop here, and all it does is break that up and come right back here. Did you make a big trade in that one? Nope. It go back up, it's coming back here. Well, now we have a higher probability trade, which could make an impulse like this. So it all depends on what the pattern is showing you, whether there's a good risk to reward in the trade or not. That's what wave analysis, and we do that day in, day out in our trading. Go back to the Aussie, go back to the New Zealand, CAD. I already did the CAD. Yen, we only looked at the yen. Swiss. Swiss broke down, it dropped there, it came back, it's still in the consolidation. You don't have to worry about that. This would still be a trade. The entry is under this low. Right, that is still a trade. So once it go back up there, we put the entry under this low because we're looking at this as a flat, and that means this could drop. Right? Is there a potential for a down move in this thing? Absolutely. We were looking for that down move trade once we were in this one here. I remember we sold at the top there in the 1 hour, but it didn't go very far. It didn't go. I thought it would do this, but it didn't do that. We thought we would get this trade, right? Instead, they consolidate. We got another trade. We're looking for another trade down. Back to about this level here. And then we'll be looking at this whole range here and see what pattern we have. It's a very, very complex pattern right now. I don't think it's a good idea to make a forecast on that pattern right now. There's much more to it. Let it form and then we'll see. But what we can surely tell is that this piece here is going sideways. If this is the top of the whole correction, this is the slowest down move I've ever seen. Right? So I think we're still in correction. I don't think we're doing this impulse. From here, we'd expected it to make that impulse. Well, if it doesn't, then all you're doing is making a more complex correction. No problem. I figured that out. Let it come here. Go back up, come back down, go back up, and then we can sell. We can sell and buy all of that as long as you understand what the next possible piece is going to be. So here is a good sell to come and break this low. We had that in one of the gold pairs. See this one? See this one? When we figure out that was a running flat, we said this consolidation, you're buying it to break the top. So this is a trade that happened. This is a trade that could happen, right? Sorry, not a CAD, Swiss. This is a trade that could happen. It could drop, break this low, and then start going back up. It will go back up. EuroCAD, it's going down really slow. There might be short-term trades. You'd have to be careful. There's a sell set up under those low there for a short-term trade. I don't think it's a good trade, but it might just come to about this level and then go right back up. Probably wait for it. It could even come back here and drop again. We're making a correction here. You could either wait for this correction to end and then look for the buy setup, or you could trade these little moves down and see how far they go. Euros came down. Not exactly the way we expected to come down. We thought it would come down really fast, but it's coming down, which means that once it starts to do this, we're looking for this to break out and make a new high. Come back to the top there. Now, here's the thing. I'm looking at this whole pattern. We have 1, 2, 3 moves. And I think this is the corrective part of it. So I'm looking at this as a 1, 2, 3. Go back to the top there and then drop. We were selling that. So the sells, I'll tell you, all the trades will break even. All these trades, all these sells, they are either break even or very small, because if you trade the way we trade, you would close those trades for a few pips, because you're expecting it to drop and it didn't drop. This sell didn't go. Look, it came back all the way to the top. If you close it here, that was all the profit you get. It's not a big trade. There was a sell here also that we closed there, and there was another sell here that closed there. None of them actually went to their targets. They're just consolidating, and if they're consolidating, you figure it out. So this could drop here. I think there's a sell set up here if you want. That's a very small trade. But the buy is a big trade, which means if this starts to go up, it could go up really fast, right? The first impulse could be really fast. So you can look for a buy setup. Take this up. We'll look for a buy setup on this to the upside. And then we'll see where it goes. There are many ways of how you can get into the buy. You would have to decide which one you want to use. Euro in New Zealand, it's dropping. If you sold that, you did well. There are going to be more sells coming. Take this off. This was this flat going up. So it's coming down. Remember what we said, we're looking for a very, very big move to the upside. Really big move on this trade to the upside to come and break this stop. I have no idea what happened to my arrows. It should have been there because we had an arrow here showing a very potentially big move to the upside. Let me just put it back. A very big move to the upside, which would be the equivalent of this one. The equivalent of this. So the only problem with this trade to know is to know when it's starting. If you were trying to trade this to the upside, and if you go back, I had a trade actually forecast on this with this here for this to do this. It ended up doing that, but then it started to go sideways and do this. They still get above that though, but it didn't go the way you expect it to go. That doesn't mean you don't trade it, because even if it had gone fast, you would not be trading the whole thing and keeping it. Like we bought a lot of trades in this. If you're following my webinars, you know how much time I said we were only buying it. We're only buying it. We're only buying it. Well, we started selling it last week because there's a good chance that it might come and retest that low before it goes up. So in the big picture, that doesn't change anything, right? This up move has not changed. Even if this comes back here and retests the low, it's still going back up there. This will become a big running flat in the middle. That's all. If you go back and look at my yearly forecast that I did at the start of this year, I showed that possibility. This could either go up from here or it could come back, retest the low, and then go. It doesn't matter. You buy here, now you can sell into this space. And then once it breaks the low again, we start looking for the buy, right? So if we get sell set up here, we'll take it. Can it actually stop from here and go back up? Absolutely. We'll always be aware that if that happens, we're going to be in the buy. You can be sure about that. So what we're going to look for here now is what happens at this level. If we get a consolidation, and you're probably going to have a consolidation here, like this one, you can look for sell setups. If it reverses, any flag we get, we will be in the buy. We'll probably be in the buy much earlier before any flag happens there. But we will be looking for all buy setups. All buy setups we take, the sells, we'll consider them until they break the low. There's a high probability for that to happen. Go back and break the low. Euro Swiss. This is a short-term sell. You should be out of the trade already. And there's a good chance you have to be careful of this sell because it could come here and go right back up, make a running flat here, and then drop. But we took the sell and we were aware that it might not go very fast, very far. The worst case is you're going to break in the trade like that. Or you close it for very small profit, wait for another flag. Euro yen. Same thing, this one we took, it didn't go, we closed it. You'll probably put an entry here, but you have to be aware of the same thing like the Euro Swiss, is that this move here might come here and then go back up and then drop, right? Once it drops to this level, you're expecting upside, by the way. Let me show you the Euro yen pattern, which is this one, right? Once it comes to this low, this pattern is gonna go up. You can already see that, right? It could go a little lower than this, but that's there. So we're selling it back to that level. Remember when we were buying this to the upside and buying this to the top? We're looking for a sell setup here now. That's if we get the sell. Euro pound. It's coming down and we're not doing anything with it. We're not selling it. We're not buying it. Let it come down and then we'll decide. Because this one is, this could come down and become the low, or this could come down and become a bigger flat. So we'll just have to leave it and wait. Pancad kind of goes sideways. There was a flat here for a buy. There were this flat here for a buy. If you took the trade, you notice I had a buy set up there. This was the low. So if you take that trade, you would only take it to break this stop and take the profit off because it's coming back down. And there's a good chance that this could go back and retest this low again before you go, making a bigger running flat. So let me put this out here. This was a sharp move down. This is a correction, a move up there. There's a good chance you come back here and then you go up again. So if we get a sell setup here this week, we'll take the trade back to this level and then we'll be looking for a buy setup, right? Let's see which one comes first. Can it give you a buy setup actually from this level? Well, you have to consolidate there for a long time. This would have to stay in consolidation here for a long time before we get a buy. Mostly you could get a flag here and that would be a sell back to this low, something. Well, not a big one like that, but something like that to the downside. Pongos. Stay out of it. Nothing is yet. It's still going sideways. It's becoming a bigger corrective piece in the middle, which means it's not a sharp move down like this one. right? It still looks upside. Right? This piece here still looks upside, at least to break this up. So you might get something like this, which would come back down here, do this, and then go. All of this would be a big correction. So if it stays in this range, the bigger trade would be to the upside. As of now, we'll have to just wait and see what it does. Pang Yen? Good sell. So let me elaborate on the Pang Yen a little more, because I think I've explained this so many times. And this is a correction. And what do you mean by a correction? It's going to drop really fast, right? So if you're aware of that, you would have sold this. You would have sold this. There are two sell setups there, and you would have sold this, because the moves to the downside are faster than the moves to the upside. And you manage to get profit out of them because they move fast away from the zone. So let me go back and show you. This sell was a good one. This sell was a good one. Actually, the flag here was a perfect sell. And this sell is a good one. This sell would be a good one if it drops. It should drop like that. So we're looking for another sell. That's a sell we're in, and then we're looking for another sell here. As soon as it moves the market open, you would be in a sell there. If it consolidates more, we'll take it off and then wait for the sell setup again. The moves to the downside will be faster because you're in a corrective structure, which means this is either a really, really slow impulse to the upside, which is useless to trade, but the downside you want to trade because you're going to get profit out of it. The moves will become very sharp like these very soon, dropping. So here's the question. Is that the top of the entire structure? Are we coming down totally? Can we make an assumption that this is coming down back to this level? Or is it just coming back to this level and then go? Either way, this is a good trade. If it comes to this level, better for you. That's a better trade. What if that is actually the top? What if this is the top and this is a correction and we're going to drop much, much more, which means we're coming back to retest this low here. In that case, you're going to have a lot of trades because it's going to go up and down, up and down. So for the first trade you want now is a sell setup to see whether this is going to drop and retest this low. Let's see. We're already in the trade. If my traders close the trade or if they have it at break even, it doesn't matter, they will re-enter. Or they will have a second trade going. Pound New Zealand. We're looking for a sell once this come back a little higher. It has to come back a little higher here. Something like this, and then we're looking for a sell setup. That should be a sell. Pound Swiss. Yep, we're looking for a sell here too. We're looking at this. This piece was supposed to break out, which it did. You can see I have the line there showing a breakout. Then it gives you this flat. And this flat is going to come back to this level here, right? Because we're looking at this correction. Similar to what you have on the Pang Yen. Coming back to this level, this becomes a flat. If that is a flat, then we're literally going to go back up, right? Can it actually drop to this level and then go back up? Possible. I don't think that's what they're doing, but that is possible. We wouldn't exclude that possibility as well. So what you're looking at in the daily structure is a daily correction that should go up. But first, it has to come back down. First, it has to come back down to this level here first. And then we'll see whether that takes off or whether it comes to this level and let's see what that takes off. This here is likely when it comes to the low, it's going to go back up. So let's see, we want the trade to the downside and then we're looking for the trade to the upside. There's a nice sell setup here. If you took that on Friday, you closed it already. I think this one we didn't take here because we were looking for, this is the news event one. If you take the trade, you should have taken it here. That didn't tag you in the news. So what we're looking for is the entry above the last above. This is where my trader should have taken it. Then they closed that trade already. We'll look for a new entry, wait for this to make a flag or a correction. And we're looking for a sell, which means you might be selling under this low if you see the correction in here. Aussie Yen. It's probably going to go back up once more. I think this should go back up once more and then we can look for the sell. If not, if this turns out to be the flat for the drop, a sell under this low is a good idea. You just have to monitor that trade so they don't tag you here and drag you back to the top there. In any case, you keep your stop here because this is 1, 2, you're going to make it 3. And then from that point, we're going to come back to this one to see, is it total downside? Again, same kind of pattern we have like a Pang Yen and a few more of the Yen pairs. If this is the top, This could be total downside. If we're making a running flat here, it means this comes here, go back up. You still have to get one sharp move up there and then downside and then up, right? So most likely, I think this could be the top. This here could be the top. And this is just making a flat of its own here. And then we're going to drop. So look for the sell setup. This flat might just come to this level. This one here might just come to this level. Go back up, come back down, go back up, and then drop. If that happens, you'll get a big flat here. Something like you got here. See, kind of a long, drawn out correction. Something like this, but this was a running flat. I hope we get a regular flat here. Look for the sell setup first. So we go with the sell setup, and then we wait until that pattern develops. Trade this back to the low if it happens. There's a flag forming here, so it couldn't retest this top. Not this top, but retest that top. And then we'll see. If you get a flag, go for the trade. Aussie cat, sorry. Aussie cat is going up. It's breaking that top, so leave it alone for now. Stay away from this. We're in this sideways move, and I don't think that is the one that's going to break out, right? I don't think this one is the one that is going to break out of this structure. So it's very close to the top. Let it make that top, and then we look for the sell setup back to the low. If this is the one that's going to break out and we get a buy setup here, we'll take it. We don't have a buy setup, not as yet. Right, there isn't the buy setup. It's consolidating, but there isn't the buy setup. I want the buy setup like this. Pull back like this, and then give me a buy setup to that top. That would be the buy setup. We're not selling it as yet there. Aussie, New Zealand. You might start to get sell set up now that we're breaking out of the structure. So let me remind you of this pattern and why we think from that point you can come down. See this? We thought that at that point, there's a chance this pattern comes down here and then go, right? Because we're looking at the whole structure and saying that it looks like it could come down one more. And at the top there, you notice it started to make a channel whereby this channel will eventually break. Well, it just broke. So any flag or correction you get would be a sell setup. Can it go back up? Sure. You wouldn't get a flag or a correction to sell if it's going to go back up. Then you relook at it and you said, could it be that it's making an attempt to break out of the bigger structure? And if that is the case, we will start to buy. For now, there's a higher probability of it coming back to this low before it goes back up. I don't think this is the breakout one. Aussie Swiss. Same here. We broke the top. We're making a flag. We're going to come back to this low. We might even retest the 270. Let's go look at it 1 hour, see if we have a trade set up. Not as yet. Again, not as yet. If you got tagged in this trade, you close it because this has a 1, 2, 3 in there. This come down, this come down. There's a good chance you'll go retest this top here and then come back here. And the higher this goes, the higher the probability is this becomes a flat for one more up. And if you get a flat there for one more up, right? If you get a flat here for one more up, you're going to break this top and then you're going to drop. If it doesn't go higher and this consolidate here, we can all sell it. We're looking for a sell setup, right? So wait for the sell. New Zealand Swiss, similar structure. If you look at all the Swiss pairs, you're seeing this kind of a correction, right? See this? Kind of go like this, it drop. It's going like this, it will drop, right? There's a chance this will break out, but not this piece. That piece is not the one breaking out. So that piece looks more downside, which means you go on the 1 hour, go back to the 1 hour. I don't want to give you that 15 minutes, it's too early. And we're looking for a sell setup here, or if we get a flag here, and I think we're getting a flag here, we will sell the flag. So I would literally move this entry order up to this flag and sell that flag for this trade to the downside. And let's see if it goes. This is actually a good setup. I may do more detailed forecasts on this one for you this week. By the way, you should continue to follow them because I'll be doing a 1 or 2 single trade forecasts every week. If you like them, please share them. New Zealand CAD. It's going up in a correction. It broke the top. You can see that it's a corrective move because every one that we had like that looking similar to that. This one wasn't exactly a perfect one, but similar to that, similar to this, eventually drop. What are the chances is this one is going to drop? High probability. So you go to the 1 hour and because you broke the top, remember we traded this back to break that top. Once the top is broken, look for a sell setup. We don't have a sell setup, and I'm definitely not buying it there. At least not as yet. New Zealand, yeah. I think this one is a much easier one. They can come back to the top, but if they do that, you start looking for yourself. We're gonna get this move down. Can it actually do this for a few times? Maybe even make a spike. Would I buy it here? No. Again, I'm looking for a high probability trade that is gonna give me a quick risk, a quick and a good risk to reward, right? Not a long drawn out pullback, 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 pullback. That's not interesting. Either you could stock in that for a long time. So let's see if we get the impulse to the downside, we'll take the trade. Cadian, okay. So we're in this big sideways move here. Actually, a really, really huge sideways move. You can put this whole one together there. I'll put it like this for now. Broke the top. If you took that trade, you closed it. We took the trade, we closed it because we were pretty much aware that there's a possibility it could come back to that top, but it didn't go. You closed that trade. By the way, just in case you're asking, when I said we close the trade, how do we close those trades? We do have something called trade management, something I introduced last year, where there's strict rules as to when and how you stay in those trades and when you close them and when you actually go in the opposite direction, which means once you close that, you would have gotten the sell here. To go back, you can look for a sell setup here to go down. Would it actually go down from this point? Well, I don't think so. This start looks like all the corrections. So if that is the case, we're in this bigger correction here now. So would that actually go much lower? Well, not so, but it could come and break this low. This could come and break that low. And then from this point, it could still go back up or it will continue to fall. It all depends on whether you look at this as all the correction. If that is all the correction, why is this not dropping? We actually sold this one. We sold this one. Why is those not dropping? Why are we consolidating? If we're consolidating here, then what is happening is you're making a much bigger correction. So you take this off and you would look at it this way. 1, 2, 3 up, 1, 2, 3 down, and then you probably go for another 1, 2, 3 up like that. And now we will look for the sell setup. Right? So can we buy that up? Sure, there'll be a lot of buys. It's not going to go very fast. See how this went very slow? It's going to be very slow. And then you're going to be stuck in this big sideways move. See that? You're going to be stuck into this coming here, going back up there with a big correction in the middle to the top there, coming back down to this level like this, making a big flat, and then heading for the upside. See, pretty easy. Once that is finished, you'll get a trade to the upside. It's what happens when you break that up. The bigger picture comes into play when you break that up, right? Because if all of that happens, if it comes down here, go back up there, come here, break that up, go break this up. It will either break this top or just this one. Right? See, we had a similar one here. You got a big deep correction there, and then they went and break the entire top. You had a similar structure here. You had a big correction here, and then they wait and break that top. So we're getting one here. Question, would this go and break all the tops? When it breaks this top, what happens? We're in this sideways move. Or is this the start of a bigger move to the upside? Take the trade to the upside. So you're going to have about 5 or 6 small trades in here before it takes off, but you'll get a buy setup eventually. So first you want this sell. It's a very short trade. Come here, go back up. You can look for your buy. The buy is going to be more like this, going back to this level. You're going to get a sell setup again, and then you're going to get a buy setup. You can keep track of it. We will update you as it goes, so you will know when you're ending something or not. Swiss yen, sell setup. Look for the sell setup. It's actually a good one. It should have been taken from this point, from here. If you're not in this yet, that would have been the point. If not, you can put an entry here, wait for another flag, right? Because you had a consolidation there, which means this trade should have been taken from here. I think Friday my traders took that. I was not in the room. This was an earlier entry, which should have closed and go there, right? So if you took this entry, it doesn't matter. You can manage the trade. And CAD Swiss. Definitely look for a sell setup here. Definitely look for a sell setup. You will have to make sure you get the requirements you needed for your trading to make sure you get the trade, right? So I'm not giving you a trade. I'm just telling you how we would trade it. Because remember, not included in this webinar is the strategy we use to trade, and the money management and the risk management and the trade management we use in our trading room, right? You don't get that in this webinar. You only get my forecast here, right? So please, if you want all of that, join the group. You'll get everything, and you'll be trading with a group of successful traders. If you manage to come to the end, you got that information. I don't like to put that information at the start. I want you to come to the end and get that information. Thanks a lot for watching this video. It will be out on YouTube, hopefully before tomorrow morning, before Monday morning. But if not, it will be out very early Monday morning. Watch it. If you like it, share it. The cryptos and the indices will be out tomorrow. Thank you very much. Trade with care.